Bright Suns, everybody. This is Anthony Phoenix coming at you. Jedi Survivor is right around the corner, and everybody has been waiting years for this game. Now, to help build up hype for this new game, Star Wars, or Lucasfilm Limited, went ahead and released Jedi Battle Scars, which is supposed to be a book that bridges the 5-year gap in between Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. So today I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys about the book, what I found about it, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. And it's rough. Forewarning, there is going to be some spoilers in this. I'm not going to give away the total book, but we'll talk about a lot of the features that I loved and hated. And I will be beating the horse on this one. I'm sorry in advance, but I I have my grievances with this book. So without further delay, let's get into it. I really wanted to like this. I really did. Everyone else has loved the character Cal Kestis, and Jedi Fallen Order was a wonderful game that really revolutionized Star Wars gaming in general, and I loved it. I've played the game through at least 5 different times. I'm playing it through right now to get ready for the game hype. Now, Battle Scars takes place somewhere in between the 5 years in between Fallen Order and Survivor. They never really pinpoint exactly what's going on or where in the timeline it is, but it takes place and it's supposed to help bridge that little bit of a gap, which it does. Kind of. It definitely lets you know what's going on with the characters and the state of the universe and the Star Wars universe in general during the time frame that we've been waiting for Survivor to come out. Now, for a little bit of backstory on this, the book is written by Sam Maggs, and Sam Maggs has got to be probably, from what I've read up on, one of the most controversial Star Wars writers ever. I could tell you my personal favorite is Timothy Zahn. I love his books, The Heir to the Empire, the Thrawn stories. They're amazing. The writing is fantastic, and I know going in, every writer is going to have a different writing style. Okay, I've read the Harry Potter books. I've read the Percy Jackson books. I've read the Da Vinci Code. I read. So, and with that being said, this has got to be one of the worst writing styles I've ever seen. It was very difficult for me to get through this book. And it was just, there's a lot of broken sentences, a lot of conjunctures, a lot of just head scratch moments that make you go, what are you doing? And there's even sometimes they just contradict themselves, or they'll put 2 metaphors in the same sentence for the exact, like they're describing the same thing. And it drove me just absolutely nuts. On top of that, Sam Maggs has also been controversial because she kind of has this just thing about writing fan fiction and putting over sensualized things into her books. For example, in previous novels, she has managed to make Luke Skywalker bisexual, has made Obi-Wan Kenobi bisexual, and even made Grand Admiral Tarkin bisexual. And I don't know about you guys, but that's a guy that I don't need to know, like, what all is going on with his sexuality. All right, like, just keep it off the table. Now, Star Wars to me has always been something you don't need to sexualize. It's not something that you need to really get into the sensual material. And, yep, sorry, we're getting a little bit racy here in PG-13. But when I tell you that there are moments of this book that I read, it felt like I was reading 50 Shades of Grey inside of the Star Wars universe, it's an understatement. Now, it's not the entire book. The entire book is not like this. And to be honest, in order to get through it, I had to use an audiobook. The writing was so broken up, I had a very hard time staying on point with everything going on. So I did the audiobook, and it definitely helped a lot too. And if you're going to try and read this, I would definitely recommend the audiobook because there's sound effects, and the guy does a great job voicing the actual actors, and every character is pretty on point as far as like the game translation to the book, with the exception of Marin. And we'll get to that in a bit. Now, and that's one of the issues with having Sam Maggs write this, is that it didn't really feel like I was reading a Star Wars book. It felt like I was reading a sensual novel that just happened to take place in the Star Wars universe. And from someone that, is passionate about Star Wars, and you don't really need that kind of context in order to enjoy a Star Wars product, it really throws you off and it can make you very uncomfortable because it's just there. It's not things that you think about with these characters. Now, as far as the story goes, to give you guys a basic idea of how this goes, we start off the story with the Mantis crew breaking into a Haxian Brood base. Now, for those of you that don't remember or haven't played the game in a while, the Haxian Brood were the bounty hunters that were essentially going after the Mantis crew, especially Cal Kestis. And at one point in the Fallen Order game, they capture him and he has to escape from their arena. Now, they've been on the run. The Brood's coming after them, so they go to their base with the intent of destroying it. And when they get there, there's a whole bunch of stormtroopers there as well. They don't really get into it, they're just kind of there, Now, in the middle of all this and setting the charges and everything, they come across a stormtrooper. Shocking. Now, the stormtrooper's first encounter is with Marin, and they want out of the Empire. They don't want to be a stormtrooper anymore. And Sam Maggs immediately builds a chemistry between the two. And again, we'll touch on that in a little bit, because this is one of the main things that will annoy you / trigger you about this book. Now, they continue on, they escape from the base, things go boom, and they find out that the stormtrooper knows about a device trying to be made called the Shroud. It works kind of like a very secret, stealthy, cloaking device. And the whole point of the book from there is that they're trying to locate the blueprints for this Shroud device and, keep it from the Empire. And then obviously we have the fifth brother that is the main antagonist in the book. And, overall the book the story was really good. I enjoyed the story. And I can't say the writing was really good because I couldn't make it through the writing. But the story in general was pretty good. And I enjoyed the ride for the most part. Now, we'll dig a little bit into this right now, and I'm going to tell you about the good, the bad, and the downright just... Let's start with the good. I kind of wanted to start with the ugly, but let's start with the good. You really got to be able to express the things that you enjoy about these. Now, overall, the story in general was pretty well written. I liked the story. It was a fun ride. It definitely felt like something out of the game. For the most part, the author did a very good job of getting the characters' personalities right. For most of them. Grease, Cal Kestis, Seer, and BD1 is kind of hard to not get BD1 right. I mean, look at him. How can you go wrong? So cute. But nonetheless, you get a really great family feel of their bond and everything they've been through, and it definitely comes off the paper very well. The story makes sense. The fifth brother as an antagonist was wonderful. He fit in perfectly. It's great to have the Inquisitors. They're the natural enemies of the Mantis crew. And then even from what we could see with Kenobi, we didn't really get a lot of action from the fifth brother and Kenobi, but otherwise the persona was nailed perfectly from what we saw in the series. So everything was pretty fluid all throughout. That's probably the only good I have to say about this. I really wanted to enjoy this book more, but Mags did not make it easy. No. So I'm probably going to end up mixing the bad and the ugly in this because I really don't have a good divider between the two. And the main problem with this entire book was Marin. Now, granted, in Fallen Order, we did not get a lot of one-on-one time with Marin to understand her as a character or really get to know her more. We'll see what happens when Survivor comes out, and if in fact a lot of her character descriptions and personality traits from Battle Scars transfers over to Survivor. Because this is where it feels like it's not a Star Wars novel, where it feels like it's fan fiction just put in the Star Wars universe. So right from the get-go, Marin's, you do get to enjoy every single character from a first point perspective. And for the most part, you are in the perspective of Cal Kestis and Marin. Those are the two primary characters. And when you're with Marin, you understand her pain, her past. She's a night sister without a family, without a home, and her powers are dwindling. They're having a hard time finding that spark, that fire that made her as powerful as she was when we saw her in the game. Now, she makes it very clear that she's with the crew to take out the Empire. She wants to exact her vengeance on stormtroopers as much as she can, because she can't take it out on the Separatists that wiped out her tribe. And they even mentioned General Grievous. And that's who she just hates, is General Grievous and what he did to her clan. For those that aren't aware, when Darth Maul and his brother Savage Opress and the Clone Wars animated series were running around doing their stuff, Dooku realized how much of a problem he was, and he sent Grievous to Dathomir to wipe out the clans, to try and get rid of them, and it ended up in the extinction, essentially, of the Night Sisters. Not funny, but it's very tragic. So she makes it very apparent that she wants revenge. Every single stormtrooper that she kills is to make up for every single person that she lost. And this is where it starts getting, that doesn't make any sense at all. She comes across the stormtrooper Fret. And there's two problems here right off the back. One, doesn't kill Fret, takes off Fret's helmet, and it is a female alien. I don't remember the species. I'll probably leave it up to you guys to kind of read through it and get to it. But one, that doesn't make any sense. Why is an alien a stormtrooper? If there's one thing that we know about the Empire, is that they are major xenophobes. They hate aliens with a passion. They believe that, humanity should be the, powerful race throughout the galaxy. And as far as my recollection could go, there's no aliens in the Empire. So that's number one. You threw an alien in there. And it's a female alien. And right from the get-go, you have Merrin thirsting after her like a horny high schooler, which is way out of character for Merrin. One, because she was just getting ready to kill this girl, and two, she's a stormtrooper, and right away, it's describing her sensually and everything, and it's very off-brand for Merrin, and very weird. Fast forward, they kind of do all this in chapter 3. We get to chapter 7, and they full on have an intimate, sensual love fest between Merrin and Fret. And the foreplay and the teasing and everything leading up to it made me so uncomfortable. It was cringe material. I'm listening to this through my audiobook, and I just wanted to take out my Bluetooth and throw it against the wall. It was just having to think about it again. And these are the parts that are going to make it really hard to get through the book. Is anytime they have this, pansexual love connection between Merrin and Fret that is completely out of character for Merrin, but also it just doesn't feel like a Star Wars moment. We have Leia and Han that were great couple together, and even in the Timothy Zahn books, they never really get too in depth about their love or the sensuality or anything like that. And here we are, and Fret's in 21. They give you an idea. These are youngins, so they're just going full hardcore. And one of the first things that they have Merrin describing her with is describing how her thighs could crush her head. That's not a Merrin thing to say. So, just why? Now this continues on throughout the chapters. And Cal, I gotta love Cal because he's just so dense about this. He's very much still in the Jedi mindset, no possessions. His possessions are his family. They're they are like family to him. And he's so dense to everything going on with Merrin and Fret, and it's so adorable in a sense because he's just so naive. But, everyone is pretty soon aware of the connection between these two. And one, not only is it very weird that they did this right off the back, that, now she's in love with a stormtrooper. Again, no sense based off of what I've already described. But the story continues, and you find out more about Fret that would normally make Marin throw him out the airlock, and no, they don't, because of love connection. And I will say this. I do understand the need to have Marin have this connection with somebody, because in the process it does reignite her fire and make her more powerful again. She refines her passion. So I get it in a sense. You're trying to, help her rediscover herself and become a powerful asset to the team again. But the way that they did it and the depth that they did it, and it wasn't necessary for the amount of descriptive content that they put in this. Like I said, 50 Shades of Grey meets Star Wars. Fan fiction, Star Wars. Lesbian love story takes place in the Star Wars universe. Now, a lot of this stuff does happen in the first half of the book. So as it continues on, it does become a lot more of a Cal Kestis story, of a Star Wars story, and it feels more fluid. There's still going to be a few cringe moments, and I can't really explain one of the other ones that just had me wanting to throw the earpiece against the wall again without giving away too much of the story. But like I said, the audiobook also really helped bring it to life. You hear like lightsaber sounds during the fights. One of the first fights they had between Cal Kestis and the fifth brother had the Duel of the Fates playing in the background. And that was just awesome. So if you read this, definitely recommend the audiobook. It's going to help make the journey so much easier. Do I think it's going to come into play with Survivor? Probably bits and pieces. Would I have preferred that somebody else wrote this? Yes. Yes, absolutely 110% yes. But that all being said, not a bad book. I enjoyed the ride. Check it out in one form or another if you really want to, get into this. If you love Cal Kestis and you want to get ready for Survivor, definitely enjoy it. And I do want to kind of go on record one last time, because I know that a lot of the things I've discussed in this video are probably going to make people think that, I'm anti-LGBTQ or I have problems with this or anything like that. My problem has always been continuity with character development. If they had hinted at any type of pansexuality with Marin in the first game, I wouldn't really have as much of a problem with this. But it feels like they just did it because they wanted to get that sensual aspect in the book, and she was the only character they could do. Grease is an older male alien with 4 arms. They're not going to really do anything like that. Cal Kestis is a Jedi. Can't do that. Seer is an older Jedi. Can't do that. So who does that leave? Marin. And it's also just because it's a stormtrooper. I don't get it. Either way, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Survivor. Comes out soon, end of April. We've all been waiting for this. It's going to be amazing. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever they are on the screen, because I don't do this that often. And until next time, guys, may the Force be with you.